My house, we can hear.
Amazing. So good. So that was KCMQ Wings We Are Growing. And then obviously Dr. Draw with, and how did I just forget the name of that song? I said it 2 minutes ago. In Motion. Great to see some friendly faces in that video. Makes me smile every time I watch it. All right. Let's get on to the Q&A. Tonight we are joined by Axel Sundelin, Ceréna, and the amazing Evie Brooks, who has been doing all of our visuals, and Brittany, our producer slash new moderator, first ever frequencies moderator. Keeping the chat going is going to be asking your questions throughout this Q&A tonight. So welcome, Brittany. And I don't know, Andrew, are you on the screen? No, you're not. I'm looking at the thing. Andrew's also here. We can see Andrew, but you can't. Our faithful director is also with us. So let's get into it. I think we'll just start off with some quick introductions. So tell us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about a history of your music career, and then we'll just take it from there. So Axel, do you want to start things off?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, I'm Axel Sundelin. I am a DJ, a producer, and part of a duo known as Nancy Music. Music-wise, my music career I probably bloomed really late. I did a lot of my work as a performance artist beforehand and as a theatre maker, but I was around a lot of experimental performance and music as well. But it wasn't until my kind of mid-20s I started digging into electronic music and dance music and going to parties in the UK. And then I moved over to Newfoundland in 2017 and then started DJing and playing out probably about just under a year later. So I've been DJing now for playing out for like 2 3 years, DJing for less than about 5, and producing has been fairly new too. So about a good 2 years.
Wow. I could not tell. If you didn't tell me that, I would not know. Um, that's incredible.
Picking it up and just running with the amount of free time that I had. But yeah, we'll get on to that later.
Free time in St. John's? What not a lot to do?
Oh, I was waiting for just stuff regarding immigration and getting my PR. And
Yeah.
so, what else are you going to do when it's like stormy winter weather and you're going to stay inside and sit with your computer? Make some beats.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm happy you're productive. We're the benefit of your downtime.
Thank you.
Definitely some great tracks out on Young Dumb Records that I've been enjoying. Ceréna, tell us a little about you.
Hi. So my name's Ceréna, pronouns are she, they, and I am a recording artist based in Tkaronto, Turtle Island. I am from descendants of people from Colombia. Um, I have been, and I'm also the co-founder of Club Quarantine. Um, and I have been doing music my whole entire life. I've been on this pursuit, but only recently I've been like doing it as myself. I started transitioning like 7 months ago, and it's a whole wild moment, and a lot had to happen for me to get to this point. But I'm so happy and thankful to be here now, and to be alive, and to be like speaking my truth and expressing every single part of me with no shame. And that's me.
That's great. Your set tonight was incredible. Really feel lucky that we were able to feel blessed that you were able to share your new music with us on Frequencies. Thank you for choosing us as your
Thank you.
platform.
My heart was pumping. Like I was so nervous because it's literally the first time that like an audience is hearing this music for the first time, and like that's a wild moment. Like these songs live in my head, bro. You know what I mean? Like it's and you as an like artist, you're so neurotic on your art sometimes. I know I am, and so like just, you get your inner saboteur in and you start like, oh, am I the only one that likes this? Like, is this not good? Like, stuff like that. And so I'm really happy that I got this opportunity to share this, and it all just kind of came in nicely, the timing. I'm dying to perform again, and that was a really nice outlet. Like I really truly felt like when I did it, I was like, once I start, I'm not stopping. And like my in-ear monitor was like not being cute, and like it was so soft, and it was my fault. But then I committed to it, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna do this because I only had that one time because then I had to leave the studio because then I had another moment in the beat. It's like it was like it's now or never. Um, so, but I'm it still worked out, and I felt like I was, performing to a live audience, and I had lots of fun.
That's amazing. I'm glad you embraced the live spirit, even though we were recording, because I think you could easily fall down a trap like we're taking it again. We're doing that one again.
Yeah. It's just me in my room. Like it was no different than me in my room dreaming of being at a stadium. Do you know what I mean? Like all these people, I was like, like that's who I was in my cabeza.
Amazing. You mentioned like you're being in your own head and trying to I guess being nervous about sharing your music. For the artists out there, I think that's a very common feeling. I know I feel that way. I'm sure Axel, you feel that way too. Like I guess for both of you, how do you get over that hump? Like how do you like make that leap to be like, I'm doing it now. Now's the time where I'm gonna try it.
You get opportunities like this and you run with it. Like Ceréna, like a lot of the tracks they was done to like for this event were all brand new or like all new material apart from one. And once people be like, hey, I want to see what you can do, it's like, right, let me just like go balls to the wall, like ready to go and show the world that this is me, like period. I think you like, especially during these times where you are like your inner saboteur is going at you being like, what are you doing, what's going on, and then you're trying to either force yourself to make something. But yeah, I think when you're giving these opportunities, it's like, right, let's show the world like what I'm doing and taking that to the extra mile.
Ceréna, do you have anything to add?
Honestly, it ebbs and flows, and before I'd had no control of it, and then I would get down in the dumps for not being in a creative space, and it's like, oh my God. Um, but I'm just kind of just really trying to like actively listen to my body, listen to my instincts. She always knows, like she always knows what's up. She always knows what's true. And like if this is how I'm supposed to pour this out, like that's the other thing is like not judging even what I'm creating, what I'm doing. Like a lot of the music that I made is like it's just experimenting with sounds on, on my DAW and just kind of like putting shit here and pushing there and having no qualms about like what style or like what things. Obviously, my inspirations kind of come through naturally from what I do, but I don't approach it trying to already give myself a structure. That's a whole different moment that like I hadn't really approached music in that way because my past was so rigid and that's kind of what has always dictated my art. But now there's just like a freedom that is just like I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like it's liberating, and it's just like if you like it, if you like it, if you don't. You know what I mean? But does it make it any less nerve wracking to then put that out there to an audience for people to eat or spew out? You know what I mean? Like it's a concept. It's a weird thing because you're just putting it out there for people to critique. They just want to be haters. Like people love to be haters sometimes. So it's hard out there.
Yeah, for sure. But I think like I don't know, my experience, I'm happy you're able to get in the headspace of just experimenting and trying and letting yourself be creative and letting yourself be who you are. Because in my experience, artists who are able to do that, their music like goes up another level. I think people are afraid to do that. But every time it happens or every time I hear an artist saying they're doing that, it's normally like their work gets better. So I'm happy you're able to do that. I'm going to start with a basic question. I'm curious as to why music for both of you. Like, why did you start? Why do you continue? What inspires? Like, why are you in this game?
I ask myself that every day. This shit is hard, but it's what the universe clearly wants for me. Like, no matter how much I try to run away from her, it's like it brings me back. That's the thing. And like, I want to give up so many times. And I've had so many times where I'm just like, why have I spent my whole life doing this? Why was this the one thing as a child that I just like couldn't stop doing? I wanted to sing. This is what I need to do. Yeah.
And if absolutely, and I think especially where a journey where it's kind of like you have one direction where you feel like you've got a focal point where you want to go, and maybe getting into music, not considering that at first, and realizing you just keep coming back to it, and it keeps coming back to you, and it's like the universe is kind of pointing these directions towards you. It's kind of like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be going and what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I would never expect 5 years ago myself to be like, okay, you're going to be moving to one other continent and work heavily in much more music. I've been like, nah, no. And I'm just like, well, it's here now. And, it's doing good so far, I guess,
Yeah, it's an amazing journey for you because it's not you're by following, I guess, music being in your life and ending up in all St. John's, which is not by any stretch of the imagination an electronic music mecca. At least not yet. Maybe you're changing that.
There's a lot of changes definitely going on in St. John's. You feel it. You can feel it's almost like the city is shaking, ready to go, and just kind of like burst and explode. It's just how you find it.
I love that.
It's really like I think the one thing that like St. John's really has is that there is a big kind of musical element, but it's about who you come into contact with and kind of experiencing a lot of things in the liveness, especially before COVID, and kind of seeing how that develops now and seeing what's happening now.
Who are some artists that the world in Canada should be watching out for in St. John's right now?
Oh, good question. Well, I mean, definitely checking out Young Dumb Records is definitely a good one. I think like they're doing there's been a lot of amazing releases coming out of Young Dumb Records. There's a duo I love known as Quepros, which is with two friends of mine, one named Frankie who goes by the name of SSLO, and Nadia, and they both do kind of like reggaeton, very much inspired from their kind of roots from South America, Frankie being half Chilean and Nadia being from Ecuador. And also, I would say the likes of Clearly from Selenium, which has been a techno party, and various DJs in the city, Crystal Hayden, Worker. Like, there's so many people. It's just it's just us obviously just bringing it out there, being like, hey, here we are. What's going on?
Yeah, I love that. The East Coast always punches above its weight musically. Always. From the time I was a teenager listening to like a small label, well, I guess it's not a small label, a label Murder Records, which I'm a fan of, which was Sloan's record label. It has nothing to do with electronic music, but a young Ted was really into that music. But it's consistently through my whole life, whether it's Halifax, St. John's, artists from the East Coast. It's just, it blows my mind. So I'm really happy to hear that. I'm going to check out all those artists you've just listed. Definitely following Young Dumb Records. We've been playing lots of their tracks. Now it's a good point to start to get to some audience questions. Brittany, I know I've seen.
Yeah.
So what's the first question?
Yeah. Well, first of all, before we start, I don't think you have to worry about the haters in the chat, because as I was reading throughout the set, it's been so good. And even people are commenting now, being like, we love you, Queen. It's so good. So yeah, people are loving it. The first question we got is from Squid. And they ask, how did the creative process change with lockdown?
That's a good one.
know.
The artist.
Stop them on the first question. Chill Waving is loving it anyways, though.
I don't know. My mental health dictates my art, like, and how I do it and where I go with it and how that process goes about. To be honest, a lot of this has been new for me because this is actually the first time that I have the control, I have the power. I didn't have that before. I was under a very suppressive structure that didn't allow me to exist in the industry as is. And I very much appeased to white cis heteronormativity and what it meant to be a male pop star. And going down that route, because my team thinks that, competing against like Justin Bieber, Shawn Mendes, like those are the people that I should be, trying to be like. Uh, because that's what I had said that I wanted to be at that level. But there was this understanding that if I wanted to be at that level, then I would have to play that game. And I tried playing that game for a very long time and it literally almost killed me. So finally getting out of that moment. And like that's why this music is the first time that it's an actual expression of like myself, not a full created, controlled version of what they wanted to see from me. Um, and like that day that I filmed this performance, like I saw myself in the mirror and fucking squealed because I couldn't believe how beautiful I felt in that moment. Like no one could tell me shit, like I just saw myself and I just was like, and then I had flashbacks of me shooting a music video back in that day and like remembering the dysphoria, this disassociation of just seeing myself in the mirror and seeing like Masari, I don't know you, the Canadian artist, Lebanese artist, and seeing that and like no shade to him, but I that's just not me. I'm not a man. I'm not that. I'm just like, whoa, but I didn't even have the language to express it at that time. So all of this is very new to me, but but I've been doing music my whole life. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
it's like not new,
yeah.
but new in terms of the way that I've completely approached this. And I think it's a pandemic or no pandemic. You know what I mean? It's just sort of my mental health and then just trying to be as open as possible and not judge myself.
Did being part of Club Q at all
Oh,
help your creative process? Like,
oh, oh. Club Q is why I transitioned, honey. Like, Club Quarantine, I found myself even deeper through Club Quarantine because I was now exposed to queerness from all around the world. And I'm seeing all these girls just being so beautiful and being so, and just like people just living their lives. And like, Casey MQ, who played a few times tonight, and one of our co-founders, has been an incredible job at leading the programming of our parties and just being exposed to so much incredible queer talent from around the world, specifically so many trans artists that have come through, and just like as they each come through, it's just like giving me the courage to like do it, to like not only do it but like be also like open and like in the industry and like doing it and like making moves and just kind of like you know community is like wildly important, and it's like we really truly need each other, and there's so many of us, like there's so many of us,
Yeah. Chill Waving writes in the chat, you being your authentic self makes the music hit harder. Canada has enough overprocessed and glossy artists.
I couldn't agree more. We were talking about this earlier, I think probably a few weeks ago, and it's been bugging me since we talked about it because there's this disconnect between your team telling you can't be yourself, and then Club Quarantine. For those who don't know, like runaway success. Literally, you basically like had a night that was basically the same thing as a Super Bowl halftime show. It was Lady Gaga sponsored by Bud Light. Like you can't get any more extreme, like more mainstream than that. And I'm like, I don't understand how these two things can go. Like
It's
How can your team misjudge the market so much?
because my team was homophobic and transphobic, and they didn't want to really face it. You know what I mean? And using the industry as a scapegoat, you know what I mean? To like justify all of these fucking, decisions and things. Um, even as like there was a parent changing as a social, like we've seen a lot of social change with queer rights and trans rights. We still have so much to go, but at least the conversation of it has very much shifted. And and still that wasn't enough. Still that wasn't enough, to sort of see, and like think futurist, you know what I mean? Think like ahead, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, all these rigid institutions and everything, like, is that really what I really truly want? And like we have now these resources to like be a lot more self-sufficient. So like I want to take this shit and run with it. This is the time, honey. This is the time for us to control our own narrative and to actually like connect with people on a level that you just couldn't have because there was no bridge between artists and fans in that way. There was very hierarchy between fans. Um, and then just also people are so thirsty for authenticity, you know what I mean? Especially after that Trump administration, and like just like there was no way you could run away from those lies, those blatant lies. And then that helped lift the veil of like all the ways that they catch us and they like, manipulate us and all these things. So now more than ever, people want like the truth, the truth. Where are our fighters, our truth fighters, our freedom fighters? You know what I mean? So the time is now for us to pop off, girl.
Why do you think, like, I'm just think of this off the top of my head. Why do you think, like it's not just the music industry, the entertainment industry seems to be more repressive than society? Like,
Yes.
like you see it, like, the thing I think about is like Black Panther. Like, is America ready for a black superhero? Like, yeah, been ready forever. Why do you think we're not? Why do you think that happens? Because it's weird. Because if I'm kind of thinking of like somebody who'd be managing you, and I'm like, well, why do we need a Justin Bieber? We have a Justin Bieber. We have a Shawn Mendes. If you being yourself is, I would look at it as an advantage. Like, it's
Yeah.
different. It's authentic. It's like you're not copying what's already in the market. And I'm just like, why doesn't the entertainment industry see that?
Two things. Profits are at the forefront of every decision. And media and entertainment, being this art form, is used to manipulate and control the narrative. You know what I mean? Telling us how to be, who to be, why are these celebrities so influential? They can fart and we all like watching them on Instagram and then buying their lip filler or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of where we're at as a culture, and there's dollars behind it. That's just really what it boils down to. They don't give a fuck what they're putting out. They will queer bait all they want. They will give us the visual representation that we're so thirsty for, but not giving it from that like moment of heart, which is like Club Q is run by artists, queer artists, and this is from our heart. Like there's just no if, ands, or buts around that versus having at this forefront, profits and gains and all that shit.
Yeah.
Lex says, call him out. In the chat, she's like, call him out.
I think it definitely reminds me of kind of the early Detroit kind of techno vibe of underground resistance being like, I'm always out for war because this is what I started and this is what I want to do and this is what I showcase. This is my story. This is who I am. And I think even just in like the music and entertainment industry, it's always just, I feel like it's mostly just about money and telling people like how this is and what this is and kind of centralizing over that. And I think especially during this time, people are like, no, let's stop erasing our narratives because people are constantly like not being able to see their truths.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more just getting to the point being like, no, let's stop this. You've seen this happen. You know what's going on. Embrace it, love it, share it, know it. Like, let everyone just can I make from doing this release and this label and yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like Club Q sponsored by Budweiser. Like it's like authenticity brings profits. Like audiences
It's
smell in, like they get bored, like the spoon-fed pop pablum, like the entertainment, well, they'll jump on an idea and they'll just push it out forever and people get really bored.
we're not the same consumers as we were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 40 years ago. You can't pacify us like that as easy. Yes, people are still being pacified, but there is a complete shift, kind of like actually feeling that energy. You know what I mean? Like there is that buzz is happening all around the world because like once we come out of this, like we're gonna be butterflies. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna be just on a next level. I cannot wait just for everything that's coming out of this experience as a whole.
For sure. Um, yeah, I guess we've gotten some heavy subjects there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Axel wants to field the question of, did your creative process change during lockdown?
It was weird because, like, especially the beginning of last year, I was wanting to develop as more of a solo producer because previously did a couple of projects with Nancy Music, and that's me and my duo worker, and obviously was doing that. So before the lockdown started, I was making and just developing as a solo artist, and then lockdown happened, and I think what got me first was kind of eating into everyone trying to build to a standard of how do we move from one platform to another, and seeing again these online parties happening, all this going on, and being like, yeah, let me just stay on top of my game. And I realized no, rest is the pure kind of resistance of it all. Listen to your body, listen to your mind. By the time I hit hit July, I was just like, and more led on to a personal development of just healing and more discovering myself and taking away from music. And by the time winter happened, it was just kind of feeling kind of yearning to get back into something, but it was just responding to everyone else in the world and being like feeling like, can I keep up? Well, I don't really want to keep up right now anymore. I'm still making great work. I can still make great work. There's people who are going to still continue making great work. It's just, my time will come along when I want to make my time come along. There was other, in my mind, there were other things I wanted to focus on and think about that was going on, whether it be my own personal development, what's going on in the world, and just let that sink in. As well as when this all happened, I went from not just before I gained PR into working into into the front lines of just serving people food on the drive, and everyone else is kind of going into these lockdowns. It was just a real big upside down world at that point for me, what I was used to for 2.5 years to now. So lockdown wise and COVID wise, it was just a mess. I was like, right, time to peace out. So, but yeah, I think in relation to that resting time, it's allowed me to really much more kind of develop who I am as a person, who I am in my identity, but also as an artist, kind of go, okay, let's really hone into my craft and what we can present. So
yeah,
go ahead, Brittany.
Well, I think that kind of leads into the next question. Lex asks, do you think your music style has changed without the presence of a live audience? Because it's tough when you're you don't have a direct feedback or direct response from a crowd, right?
I would say no. Sorry, go ahead. Boom.
No. I was going to say, I think there's been more changes in relation to, I guess, for me, hearing certain sounds that I do enjoy, and people are like, oh, you play a lot of this in your DJ sets. I'm like, yeah, I've never made a track like that. Let's just go for it. That's been nice. At the same time, no, process hasn't really changed. Just kind of just sticking to what I like and what I know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sticking to what I like, sticking to my gut, like that's something that I've really been like actively being like pushing for, um, because that was also something that stopped me from like really pushing the boundaries before, was that like it's not about what you like, it's about what is working right now. And that's not a good way to approach music. Like that's when it becomes factory farmed, dude. I don't want factory farmed music. Like it needs to come from a real true place. And so for me, like it's just really truly been like my survival. It's been like my, oh, during this, especially, I mean, and I produced, I produced these myself. Eight out of the 11 tracks on my album I produced, which is something that I picked up during the pandemic because I, I mean, okay, so that did force me to change because before that I didn't produce, and I really stayed away from it because I was just kind of overwhelmed to like learn a new medium, um, because I had already like, I'm tired of running this ship on my own, being my own label, my own marketer, my own advertiser, my own publicist, my own manager, my own like, what the hell? Like I need a fucking team, you know? So producing was like the last thing that I really wanted to like even try to figure out because it just looked so daunting. But then once I literally had no choice because now I could no longer go to a studio and have a sesh with someone, you know what I mean? Like I can't vibe with anyone. And then I was also Casey who actually encouraged me to do it because like he was just like, trust yourself. Like I know you can do this, like um and that was like a push that I needed, that nudge. Um because it's also important just to have people that like believe in you. That's another moment too. And I didn't know what that felt like either because like I was always being kind of like told that I was never enough. And so you kind of just listen, that voice becomes like the main voice. And so every single moment that you do, you're just like, it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough. And a lot of my like approach to things that I was doing came from a desperate point because it's this like desperation of being like, I've been doing this my whole life. I deserve to have a piece of this, a space. Like I deserve to have a moment. But you can't operate from that place either. So um, it's just once my priority changed to like it being the root of this is because this brings me joy and it's the only way that I can express my abstract feelings out into the world, then that changed everything.
Very inspiring. I think that's an important lesson for all artists,
Mm-hmm.
coming from the
Mm-hmm.
right place, and making music for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm. There's
everyone.
8 billion people in the world. You're bound to find people that are gonna fuck with you. You know what I mean? Like
Like literally for real, like literally when you hear it, like even tonight, just like hearing like your songs sounded like I was just like in awe because it's just like knowing that you've also you're producing them too and being like, did you produce this track and this track? And it's like, yeah, it's like, oh my god, it just feel like I could have numerous of conversations just now talking about like how that was done and just understanding why you like love them. And again, I feel like as especially in this world right now, it's what we're all just constantly doing. It's just sending each other love and just really embracing like you are making great art. I love that. I want to talk more about that and want to be a fan of your work. So like, yeah, definitely, yeah, definitely tonight. I was just like, oh my god, I would literally could have screamed, being like, oh my god, because it's just that moment of kind of um being in that situation, just kind of like, how do you like what? I'm even just right now. Bearing in mind it's like nearly 1 a.m. in
Yeah,
London, so,
yeah,
so
no.
but what I'm saying is it's like seeing that work being presented and then having a dialogue afterwards and just a kind dialogue of I really just love this and the percussion in this and the vocals and the beat and just kind of having those responses and just sending that love out in the world has been the one thing that really have appreciated more during this time.
Mm-hmm. Preach, girl, preach.
So you're both, I guess you're both relatively new to production then.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, yeah.
How
Yes.
was that switch, right? Like either the switch from DJing or the switch from sessions, like you're both
Oh,
like if you didn't tell me you just did it, I would have not known. I would assume you're doing it your whole life because it sounds really good. But what was that process like? Like was it just like was the learning curve really steep? How did you keep yourself
no.
motivated?
Performing live with like your own samples and patterns, like on using a whole, like I'm not used to it. I've been performing for half my life, but like performing new material particularly as well was so daunting. I was messaging my friend Frankie from the duo Quebros and was like, probably one of the two people I've known who've done like a live kind of setup and just been like, how is this done? And just again having that dialogue and just talking through it. But yeah, I would never expect doing that at this point in production career, but oh my God, it was fun. Like doing this on the fly and then kind of thinking, okay, what can you do next in doing that? But it's so daunting at first. So daunting at first, and because of that, you're like, I can't put like for myself, I was like, I can't put a high expectation on this being a fully finished product in my mind. I was like, I'm gonna do what I can do. Know I want to work on it when it's done, but I'm showing it to the world that like this is what I've been working on over the past 2 weeks. Apart from like, I mean, one of the tracks I made last year, but again, it's like, let's do a live version of it. I've never done that before. Let's go for it. Like, and just seeing how people respond to it, and then go back to it again.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if you make that assumption of I want to make this full thing and then release it and go the extra mile with it, then you're stressing yourself out beforehand, and then you're not going to have any material to show.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I feel that.
Yep.
So
I also thought that I couldn't do the things that I needed to do if I didn't have like all the tools in terms of like I have always seen myself like over there, but like but I'm over here kind of thing where I'm always doing the most and and always filling up my plate way too much and completely spreading myself thin and thinking that I can't do it if I don't show them that I can do everything in those 5 minutes or something that I'm trying to present myself to. Again, going back to me, like that desperate, like need to just like validate me. um, so letting go of that shit, which was very difficult, um, and then to like have this like radical compassion towards the journey of the process of the song, you know what I mean, and like not being afraid to sound ugly. That's the other thing too. Like I sound really ugly when I'm like in my room just doing vocal warm-ups or just messing around or doing shit, and that's part of the moment. I'm not always gonna sound fucking incredible on point, and it's bullshit to even give myself those expectations because then I'm setting those expectations for other people too, and then I have to live up to. And that's the other thing too. I don't want anyone to like. I'm really trying to like build a moment where like we kind of shift the way that we idolize our artists and like stop putting them on such a pedestal. You know what I mean? It's like that pressure in itself is what also fucks so many artists. And like it's like we can't live up to perfection. And like that's also toxic because then you get stan culture, which is, and then getting into the whole thing, but it's all layered, it's all pieces, right? So it has to start from the beginning. So it's like these are the things that I'm like, trying to be aware of the most because like I want to be able to make sure that I'm having the most fun always when I'm doing this because music became a chore when I was deep heavy with my, ex team because it was no longer something that brought me joy. I just felt like I was just being forced now to do something and that's like, oh, and then I don't love it anymore. But I want to be happy doing it, and I want to be able to like be sufficient, like be able to live off of like something that makes me really happy, because otherwise I can't do it. I can't operate in this world the way that I am, and the way that I like every part of me and every intersection that I cross. This world was just wasn't built for me, period. That's just the name of the game. So I'm not going to appease anymore to any more structures. I'm just going to just try to do the
Yes.
moment, try to do the thing. It's hard regardless. It's hard regardless. It's hard playing the game, or it's hard paving your own path. Which one are you going to choose?
Yep. Jim Carrey has a line about that. You can fail doing what you don't love. Just as easily you can fail doing what you do love. So do what you love.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. I think the chat is also with you, and Alexa saying we need more queer representation. The audience has always been here, but now we're demanding it. So there you go.
Yep.
Okay, so the next question is I think more of just a fun one. What's your favorite song? Aiden
Like
asks.
in general?
Yeah.
Good luck.
All time?
Of all time. That's the hardest question I've asked. Probably.
Gosh.
I mean, anything by the Venga Boys fucks me up. The Venga Boys is my inspo. I feel like right now I'm just really kind of channeling all of the, I mean, just club music, bro. Like, I'm a club kid. I will club until the day I die, you know, like that's where I'm at. And then anything like the Swedes just fuck me up. Like ABBA Gold, I'll just play that shit from top to bottom and all my anxieties go away. Like it's that girl. And so those are like, I would say just like my biggest inspos. I can't really choose like a favorite song. Like, are you wild?
It's what Aiden wants.
Oh my gosh. I mean, so I think for me, I kind of go back to like early 20 teens, like Charlie XCX. I mean, I'm gonna go there with like the true romance era. Anything from that album is just I can listen to it any day, and I'm just like, okay, this is like gonna make me happy and feel mellow. But if I'm gonna go like, okay, let's get really like super deep and into it. I mean, 2 weeks by FK Twigs is always gonna be something that if I want to feel myself that day, it's gonna be 2 weeks. Like, yeah. And also, she is from Taliban is from the same city I'm from, so it's like, yes, girl, like you show people how it is doing everything. Oh.
Yeah, she also does the most, and she had to like that's what made her stand apart, is the fact that she really did the most and did it so well, and everything about that she does is just so amazing. Yeah, she's fucking
always
wicked.
In control of what she wants to do, from visual. She will learn a new
Yes,
skill. I'm just like,
yes.
that is it. Like, I want to learn
Right,
a new
she
skill.
paved her
Everything.
own way. She paved her own
Yes.
way. There's no one like her.
Ugh.
The girls try. The girls
Yes.
try. But there's no FK. There's no other FKA Twigs. That's the beauty of it.
And as well, she's just literally kind of going, I'm going to lay my heart on the line whilst laying my body on the line, laying my eye. It's like, how far can you go until you're going to the divine level of like music and art here? I'm like, oh.
I mean, that's what music and art is, girl. It's the divine, you know?
Yes.
It's God. It's like that. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what it needs to be at the forefront of the art that we create and that we put out there.
Yes.
Even though Aiden asked this radical question, he says in the chat, "Yay, you noticed me. Thank you. You made my night. Woo, love y'all."
Love it.
We got to talk about FKA Twigs, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so our last little chat question that we've got in here. What artist influenced you the most in your journey to find your own distinctive style?
Sophie.
Sophie.
That person changed my life in every way, shape, or form. How Sophie single-handedly changed the pop landscape, and doing it all behind the scenes, and being a baddie doing it, and being still an underground pop star. And I just saw Sophie going all the way. Like, I saw Sophie being at the same level of Doja Cat. Like, that's what I need to see. Like, that's what I need to see at the forefront. And like, I just don't know what else to say. How instrumental Sophie has been for me, and I know for many queer and trans artists that just you don't see yourself there and you don't think you can do it, and then you see someone doing it. That's enough to like
Absolutely. Sophie's up there, like, I think just for any queer trans artist who just wants to make music and just like just explore and yourself through music and just be like, this is who I am. I think it's really just seeing the response of their passing from a lot of just queer artists, from producers to club kids, drag artists, like there is such a massive impact of their artistry from the whole time that it just, I think with her, she just is really just a genius, an ingenious of this moment that I think we've all been inspired like by her. And yeah, I can honestly say, like, definitely was one of the pioneers of why I wanted to produce too. Period. Doesn't have to come from the same, like, similar influence or similar sound or whatever, but it's just how she just owned being herself and just being fucking creative and being a badass to it. Like, yeah. Sophie.
And she also wasn't afraid to talk about her trans experience. Like, it's all in the lyrics. It's all in the lyrics. It's all in the music. Like, the way that Sophie, helped us shift, Immaterial Girl is like, that song, when I first heard that, it like changed my DNA. Like, it was just like, I could be anything I want. It's like that kind of moment. And then following that feeling, come on, icon, absolute icon. We will forever be changed, and Sophie's influence is going to be seen and continue to be seen, and it's going to continue to come to the forefront through all the people that were inspired by Sophie, and it's just gonna, the legacy lives on. Girl did an amazing set. It was a historic set. We at Club Q threw a little commemoration party in Sophie's honor, and Girl closed the party with a sort of historical set that started basically like they went through all the archives to look at Sophie interviews and all the music that's inspired Sophie, and then created a set and then walked us through the eras, starting from the disco in the 70s and then going into the house and techno of the 90s, the Euro, and it was just like an experience. It was like education and realizing like Sophie was literally using like, built-in tools in Logic, not even anything wild, to create the far-bending, earth-shattering sounds that Sophie made, which is the wildest part of that all. Like, I learned that in that moment. I didn't know that it was like that,
Cool. Great answer. Is that it for the chat questions?
Yep, that's what we got.
Man, the chat making you both work tonight. And I should say that I thank you for sticking with, like, Axel. It's got to be getting on like 2 o'clock there now, and Ceréna, you had a boiler room Q&A earlier today. You got a big boiler
I
room.
had like
It
3
was so
panels today.
good.
Thank you.
So good. Like,
Thank you.
was going off like your conversations with Kevin Aviance. I mean, if you can
Oh,
go back
was
to the
it you?
archive, it was so good.
Thank you. Yeah, it's on the Boiler Room Instagram if you want to see it. But that was a pleasure to speak with a legend and icon. And like, we don't have many queer elders, you know what I mean? And so to have that conversation in that space and like being like a hetero space, like Boiler Room is pretty hetero, you know what I mean? So like, it's really great that I've loved working with them, and you know, they really just let us like just take it and run with it and like let us do our thing. And that's just the best. So I'm really happy and thankful.
I'm definitely looking forward to the boiler room tomorrow. That is just a
Mhm.
stacked lineup. Holy,
Yeah. Yeah.
believe it. It just kept going and going and going when I was reading the artists. I have one more deep question for you. I know it's late, and then we'll move on. But it's a question that's been bothering. It's a question that it's actually like something I think about a lot. So as a straight male who's a fan of music, who kind of like comes across both of your music and is not viewing it in a lens of like queer or not, it's just good music.
Uh-huh.
And the kind of person who would just like stumble into one of your performances, not really knowing, like maybe not doing all the research I should be doing, just walking into the party. How should we be engaging with the queer community and queer parties? Like, I'm conscious that sometimes I feel like a little bit like I could be a bull in a china shop, where it's like this is a very special space and event, and I don't want to like disrupt anything there. But also like your music's great. Not
Thank you.
like I'm talking about you as artists individually. So how should I interact with and people like me interact with queer culture and queer music and queer music scenes?
Oof, that's a big
Yeah.
question. Ooh,
Ooh.
there's
I
so
mean,
many layers to that.
for myself, I still feel like there's so much that I still need to explore in queer culture, because if, as much as I've experienced it in bigger cities, I'm still in a smaller space, and you have to then make those spaces make it work. Um, but like, I guess the one thing I've always appreciated is just that, again, these dialogues that are taking place either during the event or afterwards, big time, and being respectful of letting people tell their stories and express themselves in the spaces. But yeah, I still feel like I'm still gonna have a chance of still experiencing more queerness in nightlife in itself. So I guess I'm just always appreciative when people ask questions and want to know more, and and talk about it in a very respectful environment, and giving it its integral, um, like just giving it its integrity. And even as a queer person, I'm still learning that too. I find I'm still learning that, because you know, boundaries are so important. Boundaries are so fucking important at the moment, and especially in spaces like that, queer spaces, straight spaces. Like, it's just, yeah, give people that respect and integrity. But yeah, I think if, for me, it's more just if people are willing to engage and appreciate, and again, we can have a conversation like this on this panel, or a dialogue through like Instagram or something. I'm always like very like appreciative of that.
Mm.
Yeah, and then at the same time, it's like I'm not as much as I'm a queer person in this world, I'm not an expert. No one, like, there's so much more of my story I don't know from other people's stories. So there's only a certain amount I can give you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you're both promoters and put on parties, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of why I'm at, like, you're curating events. So you're not just anyone. So you're curating these events, and I'm very conscious. Like, music scenes the way I think of it, like music scenes are all special and unique in a way, but there are some that it like go to the next level of specialness. I think like Ceréna, you mentioned on our call, like this is our church, this is our dance floor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the dance floors
Mm-hmm.
are, it's like it's not like just a few friends getting together playing beats in a club.
Mm-hmm.
Next
We
level.
have stakes, like nightclub. Yeah, it's like we have those stakes versus like straight nightlife is just has a whole different, agenda at the forefront of it that falls, back into capitalism and white supremacy, like all these things that like just constantly are being constructed. And like, these governments don't really they don't protect our spaces. Like here in this city, all of our spaces are virtually gone. So bro, like we're actually going to be starting from scratch when we get out of this pandemic. And it's sad that there was nothing to keep these spaces from closing down. And just shooting for condos. So it's just really important, I think, just to know that like you're a guest in the space. I guess when we're talking about a space, when we're talking about like an actual live or like a
Yeah.
space or whatever, because like the thing about the music portion of it is like I want everyone to enjoy music. You know what I mean? Like, yes, my music comes through a trans lens, a queer lens, a marginalized lens, but the feelings are universally felt. You know what I mean? And we're all in this rat race. We all put on a performance when we leave the house because we're always, that's just what we've been bred. And I just like really want to like shatter all that and have everyone really truly face who they are and like, unpack that, dissect that, and then have the courage to be every single piece of themselves. You know what I mean? Because like that's just the only way that we're actually going to kind of like get to that point where we can finally just be people and everything else like it's part of us, it's part of our identities, but they're no longer dictating how we operate in this world and the opportunities that we're going to have in this world because of X, Y, and Z. um but we had a really funny straight night for queers themed party
So that
a few weeks ago at Club Quarantine, and it was so funny. And we had straight people come through, and it was amazing. Like, loved it. Like, it's just like, yeah, if you respect the space and that's it. Because like the other thing too is like that I think about a lot is building community based in like values and morals versus like identity boxes. Because like a queer space doesn't necessarily mean a safe space either, right? And there's a lot within the queer community that we've had to dismantle because there's a lot of racism in the queer community and a lot of transphobia in the queer community. And so trying to maneuver through that and really trying to tend to our own garden, and I think that's what everyone also needs to be doing is also tending to their own garden and their own people and their own, all the things that we carry um, as individuals and as collectives in communities
yes.
before we can finally just start enjoying life and everything that everyone has to offer. Um,
Yeah. Well
that
said.
answer your question?
My question was that we took it broad. It was actually much more. It was just like actually going to an event. But I think you bring up a really good point. And it's an
If you're
interesting.
gonna go to an event too, and it's like a very queer space, go with queer people too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Don't just show up with you and your girlfriend, giving that vibe because like that that in itself could make people uncomfortable just for the fact that it's like a sacred space. That's the only reason why, because when you leave those doors, it's like, you know, it's a whole different vibe. I've never been able to hold my partner's hand and not feel a type of way in public. That's just the reality that I have experienced always, right? So it's just like honoring that, knowing that, understanding that, and then making sure that you're with other queer people as well.
Very
For
valid.
sure. And I think that's something I just want to like put an exclamation point on that. Like you mentioned, like you can't hold your partner's hand out. It's like it's the one space where you can just be yourself.
Yeah.
When you're entering that space as an outsider, be respectful of that. Like, it's not just like three friends playing music for each other. It's so much more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The big thing, like, it's understanding that even with queer spaces, even in with music is fluid. Music is fluid. There is no structure in that whatsoever. So why do we need to present that in spaces and places? You know, like, let people just be who they are and let them enjoy that freedom, because for some people that's probably the only time they can feel free and know and learn about themselves and love themselves.
For sure. It's an interesting dichotomy with music, because on one hand, it's universal, right? So like it's naturally going to resonate with everyone. On the other hand, it's so tied to, like, again, a space that's the only space you can be yourself, and this identity, like there's a whole culture aspect of it too. So like definitely historically in music, you can see that go off the rails, right? Where like
And how it gets appropriated,
yeah,
snatched and then packaged and labeled, and then that's why it annoys us, it pisses us off. Like, those are the things, because like until like we're also winning as the creators of that content, then not everyone can have that pie right now. You gotta let us have our pie,
Yes, we do. Yes, we absolutely do. Especially in electronic music. I feel like electronic music has a lot of atonement to do. But yeah. All right. Well, that's the last. Like, we'll end it. We'll end it there. That's the last deep, hard question. We'll start to wrap it up. Is, I guess, like, for both of you, are there any projects we should be watching out for? Anything we should be looking for coming up from both of you?
Yeah, I mean, the album coming out June 11 is the plan, which is also my birthday. Doing it on my birthday. And yeah, I mean, I'm just getting everything together for that, and we'll be releasing some singles beforehand and some visuals, and just trying to share my story.
If you have, when the singles come out, the videos come out, please send them over to me, and we'll play them on frequencies.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully we're having a Biblioteca release coming out this year. I've been starting to work on some stuff, kind of going down a very like field recording route at the moment, and just kind of wanting to release something off Biblioteca right now, and just have more fun exploring my musical identity.
That's great. Biblioteca, again, a great record label out of Toronto. Sonia performed here not too long ago. I mean, you can check her set out. But yeah, definitely looking forward to that release. Really, really excited. And obviously, I'll mention it, the Boiler Room tomorrow for Club Q.
Yes, come through. It's a 5-hour moment. Longer than our usual parties, yeah.
Are you hosting it all, or you
I am
for the
hosting. I am hosting.
full 5 hours?
Yeah.
Flight Club Q's trying to kill you.
Yeah, she tries it.
That's great. It's so amazing to see the success of Club Q again. Seeing it from its infant days. I think I saw the first like Facebook shares of like a Zoom party of DJ. What it is now is just insane. So we're definitely tuning in there. Well, thank you both for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so
wicked.
much. It's been really wonderful.
You're welcome. We really appreciate you spending time here at Frequencies. The sets were incredible. The conversation was great. Looking forward to everything that's coming up. I'd like to thank Andrew, our director, who I can see but nobody else can see on Zoom. Brittany for the amazing moderation tonight in question, representing the chat. Evie's joining. Gonna get her credit. We're just waiting.
Yeah.
She's gonna pop in at the last second.
There we go.
Them visuals.
Like truly, I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
Great job as always, Evie. It's each and every month is a pleasure working with you and seeing just what you create. I love the surprise. It's always incredible. Thanks to Chris Marlowe, who keeps our Instagram stream going. Seeing him in the chats. And thanks for everybody for joining and watching. Like all the audience makes this each and every month. We're on live stream number 23, which is absolutely incredible. Definitely did not envision myself in my life being a live stream host. Frequencies was just a live event for and now we're doing 23, going on to 24 next month. So definitely join us next month. And we're gonna play some tracks like we always do. 2 tracks to just kind of wind down the night and end things. I gotta remember what tracks I said I was gonna play. We're gonna play 2 tracks. So one is a respin. A lot of respins tonight. I guess I was feeling a little nostalgic. It's by Isla Den. It's called Sad Age. It's out on their latest EP. And then Scare Me to Death by, oh man, how did I just forget his name? I didn't write it down. I ripped the MP3. Crip Lord. It's so late. We need to end this. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, the artist. Thank you, Evie. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Chris. And
Thank you.
Starting things off with Isla Den Sad Age and then ending it with Crip Lord Scare Me to Death. Andrew, take it away.
Just
money, I've been running out of place. Been running out of friends who can tell me I'm okay. Been trying to take a breath, but I feel like it's a waste. I kinda wanna taste, but what's stopping me? Will you tell me what I should do? You're all I see when you're sitting there in the room. Do you know it's not easy to be here with you? I hate that I'll say it, but girl, I still have to. I don't wanna leave, but I really have to. I can't look away from the warning signs. Tell me what you mean, you're scared.